This is Football Night in America, served by Applebee's.
And it's time for your Week 5 recap. Maria Taylor alongside Tony Dungy and Mike Florio. And I want to start out with the Cowboys, who are sitting at 4-1, despite the fact that Dak Prescott has been out. Cooper Rush is a solid 4-0, and their defense is playing amazing. Mike Florio, what's impressed you most about the Cowboys?
The fact that they just have found a way to win week in and week out without Dak Prescott. It felt so negative. The energy was just bad. The Cowboys are done without Dak Prescott. And then they win one game, they win another, win another, win another. And they're finally into some difficult games now, beating the Rams on the road, although it probably was more like a Cowboys home game. And now this next challenge of going to Philadelphia. Their defense is so good. Their offense is balanced. And they can afford to let Dak Prescott take all the time he needs to get to 100% instead of rushing him back and having him not ready to go, not be 100%, maybe get banged up. This is a great situation for the Cowboys to be in, and now they get an opportunity to take on the best team in the league next week.
Well, here's what I think happened, Maria. Mike McCarthy went to that team when Dak got hurt and said, defense, you've got to step up. You've got to be leaders. You've got to carry us. And those guys took him seriously. The last 4 weeks, they have played lights out. Cooper Rush is doing a great job. He's doing what he should do. The running game is picked up. But it's the defense that's just saying, you know what, we're not going to let you score.
Yeah, and you saw that they were just basically having a party around Matthew Stafford. On the graphic, 5 sacks for the Cowboys, 3 total takeaways. When you talk about the Rams offense, I mean, what are we seeing from the reigning Super Bowl champs this season, Coach?
You know, we get all enamored with passing game, and Cooper Kupp's going to do this, and Allen Robinson's going to do this. When the Rams were on fire last year, they were running the ball, setting things up, play action, big plays. They're not running the ball well this year. And so, consequently, they're not protecting as well. Stafford's getting hit a lot more. It just doesn't look in sync. They're going to have to get their running game going to get back to where they want to go.
Your thoughts, Mike?
I think that's the key. And with left tackle Andrew Whitworth gone, the offensive line not as good as it used to be. But you diminish the running game. They miss Robert Woods and/or Odell Beckham Jr. Now, Beckham presumably is coming back at some point, but it's all Cooper Kupp and some Tyler Higbee in the passing game. And with Stafford is so tough and so quiet about getting banged around. I can't help but wonder whether or not he's kind of secretly banged up, and he isn't even telling the team. He just seems a little bit off, although anyone would seem off in that offense if he's not having time to set up and throw the ball.
Mike, today they could have had Odell Beckham, Robert Woods, any great receiver the Rams have ever had. It wouldn't have made any difference. Stafford was harassed every single time he dropped back.
Yeah, the Dallas defense definitely made it difficult for Stafford, and that offense still looks inconsistent. But one thing that we've consistently seen so far this season is that the Eagles are going to find a way to win. I think about Jalen Hurts when he was in the locker room, rain, heat, or snow. The Eagles gonna go. Like, that reigns true with what they've been able to do. And you saw against the Cardinals, it came down to a field goal. But it seems like, Mike, this is a team that's confident that no matter how the game starts, ends, finishes, they're going to be the ones walking away with the win.
And this game had all the indications of a trap. You've got the Cowboys coming up next week. This is kind of the time where you see the correction of the team that breaks out of the gates undefeated. This is the week they step in a pothole. And it was funny because last Wednesday when Jalen Hurts met with the media, he didn't get a single question about the Cardinals. So he basically asked himself a question about the Cardinals so he can see how good they are. Because we have to take this team seriously, and we saw how close it was. And I really would like to see them have more of that killer instinct to finish teams. They let the Lions back into it. They kind of tried to let the Jaguars back into it last week. They let the Cardinals back into it today. They're good enough to build that lead and extend it, not just hold it. I want to see them get to that level.
It's funny you say that, Mike, because I actually had a conversation with Nick Sirianni last week about protecting leads and how you play in the second half when you've got big leads. I think this is new, kind of uncharted territory for Philadelphia. They step on the gas pedal. They give you that offense you don't know how to defend. They get ahead, and then it's how do we want to play? Do we want to throw the ball more? Do we want to keep running? And they're learning, but they play dynamic out of the gate, and they've just got to learn how to keep the hammer down.
Well, it's going to be an interesting matchup then for Week 6 because we're all looking forward to it. NFC East showdown. We got the 5-0 Eagles, the 4-1 Cowboys. I want to do an early sneak peek, Mike, at what you're already looking at some of the matchups that we should be watching for.
I want to see what Jalen Hurts does against the best defense he will have seen all year long, and maybe the best defense he'll see the entire season. We have, I believe, witnessed the transformation of Jalen Hurts from being a guy who had to prove he was good enough to just be a starter and then prove that he was good enough to hold the job. Now he's becoming a franchise quarterback before our eyes, and he's setting himself up for a major contract with the Eagles. He's really going to put them in a tough spot after this season, and if he can get it done against a team like the Cowboys, it's going to just reinforce that even more strongly. So this is going to be the test of his NFL career. It's a test for the Eagles across the board with a very good Cowboys team coming in, especially if they somehow get Dak Prescott back, although I have a feeling right now that's probably not going to happen.
I agree with you, Mike. I'm really anxious to see this. Philadelphia's going to come out, and they're going to do some things with the running game and with Jalen Hurts running that's going to force Dallas to put a lot of people in the box to deal with Hurts. And now you're going to have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith on the outside one-on-one. Dallas hasn't been in that situation a lot because they count on their front four to rush the passer. They use a lot of different coverage people. But when they have to lock in on that run, can those corners hold up one-on-one against those two receivers?
Well, the great thing is we get to lead into that show, so we'll be breaking down. Coach is going to have a clicker, okay, by the time we get to pregame going into that Week 6 matchup. Let's keep it moving with what we've already seen in Week 5. And if you are a New York fan, you are so happy because the Jets and Giants have combined for 7 wins so far this season. We saw the Giants go out to London, beat the Packers. I mean, Coach, what are we seeing from both of these teams as we almost watch them grow up and mature before our eyes?
Well, I think we started to see it with the Jets last year with what Robert Saleh brought, just attitude and the way they went. And we're seeing it with the Giants. Everybody thinks, oh, they brought Brian Daboll in to fix the quarterback, to fix Daniel Jones. Well, he did some things for Daniel Jones. He's getting the ball to Saquon Barkley in open space. He's using his weapons. But the big thing he's brought is those guys never feel like they're out of it. They don't care how the game is going. They're playing hard. They're not beating themselves. They're playing confident. I think he's brought a culture and just a we can win to this team, and they believe in themselves.
Mike?
Yeah, and you look at that quality of coming back from significant deficits. We've seen the Jets do it in 2 out of their 3 wins, and we saw the Giants do it today, down 17-3. Would have been very easy to throw in the towel. In London, taking on a Packers team where the fans had taken over that stadium, and the Giants just kept plugging away, and they kept pushing it. You know, reminds me of what Daboll told me after the game, the idea that he wants to have no excuses, no woe is us, no, this just isn't our day, just keep pushing. He wants everyone in the organization to have that attitude, and it's just amazing to see them at 4-1. And I really wasn't a believer until today. I thought some of the wins they got were a little fluky, but to beat the Packers the way they did today, I believe in the Giants now.
Which team do you believe in more, Jets or Giants, Mike?
I'll say the Giants just because I think their path to the playoffs is easier than the Jets. If they played right now, maybe the Jets would find a way to win. I don't know, but I think it's better to be in the NFC. Even in the NFC East, as we pointed out in Football Night in America, Maria, you made this point. You got the Eagles with no losses, the Cowboys with 1, and the Giants with 1. That's a tough division, but the rest of the conference isn't good. The Giants have an easier path to the postseason.
And the Jets are playing hard, and I love what they're doing, but if the Browns don't run out of bounds, they probably lose that game when they're down 13. They're played against the third-team quarterback today. Jets still have a little more to prove to me.
Well, either way, it's an Empire state of mind. I know that everyone in New York is still celebrating, and so you guys enjoy that. And we'll see what happens Week 6. Time for your biggest takeaways, some of our quick hitters. Mike, we'll start with you. The Bills crushing the Steelers behind Josh Allen's career day. Biggest takeaway?
Well, my biggest takeaway is something's wrong with the Steelers. These are not the Steelers that I'm used to seeing for the last 50 years that I've lived in and around Pittsburgh. I thought they would answer the bell. I thought they would at least keep this close. They got embarrassed today, and they're kind of out of answers, and this isn't the way to start the Kenny Pickett era. They need to get T.J. Watt back. He's not going to be back, apparently, until after their bye week. They may be 1-7, Coach, going into the bye week, and Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season. They go into the bye at 1-7. He's going to have his first losing season.
I agree with you, Mike. Everything you said. This is very, very disappointing for the Steelers. They knew the situation. Hey, you're playing against Buffalo. They've got an explosive offense. We've got to get the job done on offense. We've got to keep the ball a little bit. Buffalo, I talked to Leslie Frazier. They're banged up. They're missing their whole secondary. They're missing key players up front. And
You couldn't tell.
You couldn't tell.
You couldn't.
3 points by the Steelers. They didn't run the ball well at all. You've got a #1 draft choice, Najee Harris, who was a great back in college. He can't get out into the second level. They've got to change that. They've got to get some attitude going on offense. And as Mike said, they've got to do it quick.
All right, biggest takeaway, the Browns blow another fourth quarter lead, Mike.
Well, this is not what we thought we'd see from the Browns because it's defense, it's running game, it's conservative, it's smart football. They need to win in all phases while they wait for Deshaun Watson to come back. And these are just missed opportunities for a Browns team that could be better, should be better, and could be putting wins in the bank for the playoff run that potentially is to come when Watson returns Week 13 if he checks all boxes and passes all NFL scrutiny. So these are the kinds of games where when we get down to the last couple of weeks and we're looking at all the permutations and Steve Kornacki's crunching the numbers, you're going to wish you had these L's become W's because it makes your path a hell of a lot easier or harder, as the case may be, to get to the postseason.
Yeah, realistically, the Browns could be 5-0 right now.
Yeah.
You know, you're up 13 points to the Jets. You make some bad decisions there. Today, all you need a field goal, and Jacoby Brissett throws an interception at the goal line. Those are mistakes that can happen. It doesn't matter if Deshaun Watson's there or not. You've got to play fundamentally sound in that area. They're doing a lot of things right, but they're not making the key plays at the right time.
Well, how about this, guys? What do we make of the 4-1 Vikings? No one would know better than you, Mike. So
let me tell you something. They have an opportunity to put the Bears away. They're up 21-3. They let the Bears take the lead, and then they find a way to win it late. We've seen that 3 straight weeks now from the Vikings against the Lions, against the Saints, and against the Bears. Finding a way to make something happen and get the win. And it's not sustainable, but Harrison Smith, their veteran safety, made a good point after the game today. They're getting wins while they're still learning the new systems on offense and defense. So they're laying the foundation for when they're presumably going to be better, especially on defense. The defense has too many lapses, but they're shifting from a 4-3 to a 3-4 under Ed Donatel. So if they are better when late November, December, January rolls around, they will be in much better position because of these wins they're getting when they should have lost 1, 2, or all 3 of these games, Coach.
It could have lost them, but here's what they're doing. They're winning the games they should win. When you play the Chicago Bears and you're up, they're winning. You're playing the Lions, and they're winning those games. So that is the glass half full. Now, can they do that against the better teams? They did it against Green Bay. So we'll see. I think as Mike said, they're learning, they're growing. But get these wins while you can.
Well, someone who's not getting any wins while they can would be the Panthers. They're 1-4 now. How do we assess the pressure that's on Matt Rule, Mike Florio?
I think that it's just a matter of time. Somebody who's plugged into that situation there told me it's when, not if, for Matt Rule to be relieved of his duties. And one of the things that benefits the Panthers to move sooner than later, if you get Matt Rule out into the pool of potentially available coaches for college jobs, he gets a job. That reduces what they would owe Matt Rule. That's a very basic business consideration that David Tepper, the owner of the team, has to take into account. If you hold him all the way until the end of the season, those jobs may be filled. You have a bigger buyout for Matt Rule. So I won't be surprised if it happens sooner than later. David Tepper, one of those hard-charging guys that thinks he can put a lot of work and effort into it and it's going to result in wins. He gets frustrated. He gets upset. It really is a matter of time. And if he knows what he's going to do, some would say, why wait, Coach?
Well, we were sitting in the screening room today with Chris Sims, and he was just getting frustrated for Baker Mayfield. He wanted him to have some success. There's no one open. There's pressure. They're not moving the ball. And it just looked like that week in and week out. And Matt Rule came in supposedly as an offensive coach. Now you get a quarterback who was the first pick in the draft, and it doesn't look any better. The team, I don't think, is playing with any real fire, emotion, or hope right now.
Or confidence in any way, shape, or form. Well, that wraps up our recap. I hear Mike Florio is coming to the studio next week. So,
yes, come on,
So I'm going to
Mike,
leave and go to Philly because I don't want to see him.
Thank you.
But either way, Football Night in America will get you set for Week 6 starting at 7 Eastern on NBC. We hope to see you there. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.